This is FAFO, holler it loud. Fuck around with fiction, get the facts drawn. Getting triggers just the cost of the crowd. We're toxic to the lies, truth we're proud. This is FAFO, no smooth talk, no value brought. The stories we brought, the real now. Run your mouth and meet the South down. Fuck around and find out, burn it down. Muddy water don't care about your brand new shoes.
You know, for years, Hollywood taught us that criminals had to be careful. Don't talk on the phone. Don't leave fingerprints. Don't leave DNA. Don't tell anybody. Don't write anything down. Entire criminal organizations were built around one simple concept. Keep your mouth shut. And then along came artificial intelligence. And apparently, a whole new generation of criminals looked at the world's largest information machine and thought, you know who I should confess my felony plans to? The robot. Ladies and gentlemen, we've officially reached a point where criminals are asking ChatGPT questions like, how do I hide a body? How do I get away with murder? How do I cover up a crime? How do I destroy evidence? How do I avoid police detection? Bro, what part of that sounded like a good idea? This isn't your cousin Randy at a barbecue. This isn't some sketchy guy at a biker bar. This is a computer system owned by a multi-billion-dollar technology company. You literally typed your criminal thoughts into a machine voluntarily. And imagine being arrested and the detective slides a printout across the table. Sir, is this your conversation? It's right there in black and white. Hypothetically speaking, what's the best way to bury a body in clay soil? Hypothetically, huh? Sure. Let's go with that. And I hypothetically rob banks every Tuesday. What's even funnier is that some people seem to think AI works like a criminal attorney. Like the robot is somehow going to keep secrets. No, the robot isn't your lawyer. The robot isn't your accomplice. The robot isn't your ride or die friend from high school. The robot is basically just a digital hall monitor with server logs. Imagine that. Imagine being caught because you Googled, can police recover deleted messages? Followed by, how long does DNA remain on a shovel? Followed by, best places to hide a body. I mean, at that point, detectives aren't even solving a crime. They're just grading homework. But, the funniest part is that criminals used to worry about wiretaps. Today, they're like creating searchable transcripts of their own stupidity. It's like robbing a bank and then stopping halfway through to fill out a customer satisfaction survey. And before anybody says, well, criminals are getting smarter, no, they're not. We're living in an era where people carry tracking devices in their pockets. They record every aspect of their lives, upload everything to the cloud, and then ask artificial intelligence how to commit felonies. That's not criminal genius. That's job security for detectives. The old criminal worried about being watched. The new criminal volunteers the information and somehow thinks the robot is on his side. Imagine surviving fingerprints, DNA cameras, witnesses, cell phone tracking, and forensic science, only to get caught because you asked ChatGPT for tips. The FAFO level, expert. Guys, today on the FAFO podcast, we're talking about dumb criminals and so much more. What is happening in our society, all the things going on in the world. We decided, hey, look, we've talked about some heavy topics here lately. Today, we're going to dial it back a little bit, have a little bit of fun on today's episode, and talk about the utter stupidity taking over the criminal mindset. You would think with today's technology that crime would be at an all-time low, except it's the opposite. Crime running amok, and I'm talking about stupid crime, because you know you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught. There's cameras everywhere. And then it comes down to the whole robot AI. Everybody trying to Google how to hide bodies and garbage like that. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Well, that's today's show, folks. I'm going to run you through some examples, and we're going to talk about it. And if you want to follow along with the show, all you got to do is join us live on Kick or live on Facebook. Either one. Hop in the comments. Tell us how you feel about it. All that good fun stuff. If you're listening to this later on Spotify or Apple Podcast or Amazon Music, once again, you want to be part of the live show, it's every day at 9 a.m. Live on Kick Central Standard Time here in the States. Same thing on Facebook. Follow us. Or you can just catch the show later on YouTube if you want to watch the video. On Rumble and on Facebook. We're everywhere and growing. This is the FAFO Podcast. Good morning, Mike. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Speaking of AI, I requested an AI song for your afternoon show. That's right. We do have an afternoon show. It's music. It's our After Dark show. Totally different than the FAFO Podcast. We have a lot of fun. If you're a music person, you like requesting music and talking about it, that's the show for you. Join us. Join us. After Dark is the name of it. We're going to have a good time. But let's get into this because we got a lot to talk about. I put together a good one today. I'm really kind of excited to talk about this stuff because it's just, stupid people aggravate me. I'm not going to lie about it. I get aggravated over stupidity and stupid people. I do. And criminals just got dumber because they think they're so smart. They think they're so gangster. They're so tough. They're so intelligent. I thank you, bro. I know more than you do, bro. ChatGPT told me everything I need to know, bro. Here we go. Here we go. You want real world FAFOs? I got one for you. Who remembers Darren Lee? Who remembers Darren Lee? Do any of y'all remember Darren Lee? Look, now before anybody thinks we're exaggerating how ridiculous this is, let's talk about former NFL linebacker Darren Lee. So, according to prosecutors, Lee, who was charged with first-degree murder and evidence tampering in the death of his fiancée, Gabriella Perpetuo, allegedly, we have to use that term, allegedly turned to ChatGPT for advice before contacting authorities. Prosecutors told the court that he used AI as a sort of legal advisor, asking questions about injuries, falls, what to do with an unresponsive person, and how to explain what happened. Let that sink in for a second. The man allegedly looked at a murder investigation and thought, you know who can help me right now? Yeah, the robot. Not a lawyer, not a friend, not silence, the robot. Now, according to court testimony, prosecutors allegedly asked questions involving injuries, falls, and what signs might be consistent with an accident. They argued that the conversations were part of an effort to explain or cover up what had happened. Now, from a pure FAFO perspective, this is incredible, right? For decades, again, criminals worried about what? We talked about it. Fingerprints, DNA, eyewitnesses, surveillance cameras, wiretaps, phone records. But now they're just creating searchable transcripts of their own thought processes. Imagine being the detective assigned to that case. You don't have to interrogate anybody. You don't have to flip an informant. You don't have to bug a phone. You just simply pull up the chat history. It's like the suspect voluntarily sat down and started writing a diary titled Things I Definitely Shouldn't Be Asking Right Now. Here's truly the amazing part about that. Even if somebody somehow believed AI could help them, what exactly was the plan? Did they think ChatGPT was going to become their criminal defense attorney? Did they think that chatbot was going to lean across the digital table and whisper, "Don't worry, bro, this stays between us"? That's not how any of this works. The robot isn't your lawyer. It's not your accomplice. It's not helping you move a couch at 2 a.m. The robot is software. And software creates records. Which brings us to the greatest FAFO lesson of the entire story. The old criminal worried about evidence, about leaving evidence. And the new criminal asked a computer how to leave less evidence. And somehow creates even more. And again, you survive DNA, surveillance, witnesses, cell phone track, all of this, forensic science. And yet you get caught because you started brainstorming with a chatbot who keeps track of everything you're putting in. And it's wild. FAFO level on this one, Hall of Fame. Yeah. Hall of Fame level FAFOing right there. Now, one of my favorite categories of FAFO stories is what I call the escape plan that wasn't fully developed. You know the type. The moment where somebody makes a bad decision, realizes they're in trouble, and then somehow follows it up with an even worse decision. Let's start with chimneys. This is a good one. Every year there are stories about people becoming trapped in chimneys. Right? It happens all the time. It's been happening since chimneys were a thing. Now, occasionally it's somebody generally trying to help. One famous case involved a man attempting to rescue his dog after the animal became trapped in a chimney. Look, that sounds noble, right? And I'm sure it was. Right up until the moment both the dog and the owner needed rescuing. Now, imagine being the firefighter responding to that call. What's the situation? Well, the dog got stuck. Okay. Well, then the owner got stuck. Okay. And now neither one can move. And see, at that point, you're not conducting a rescue. You're supervising a family meeting on poor decision making. Now, look, we all love our dogs, and I'm the first one jumping in to save mine. And I'd absolutely do something stupid to save my dogs. That's just how it is. But there's a reason firefighters own ladders, ropes, and specialized equipment. Your backup plan shouldn't be, I'll just squeeze into this hole and hope for the best. Your dog couldn't fit down the hole. What makes you think you're going to? Because hope is not a rescue strategy. Neither is becoming part of the problem. And then we move into one of the greatest criminal subgenres in modern history. It's become such a thing, and it's insane. The dryer hiding criminal. Y'all have heard these stories. You've had to have heard these stories. And for reasons nobody fully understands, there seems to be an endless supply of burglars, fugitives, and idiots who think, you know where nobody will ever look? The dryer. The dryer. The giant metal box specifically designed to hold clothes. The first place every police officer on earth checks after under the bed, inside the closet, or where? Behind the shower curtain. And imagine being that officer. You've got the suspect cornered. The house is surrounded. You walk into the laundry room, and suddenly, the dryer starts breathing. Yeah. Not exactly criminal mastermind. No, not exactly criminal mastermind territory right there, folks. Look, there have been multiple cases over the years where suspects have hidden inside dryers, washing machines, kitchen cabinets, attics, crawl spaces, doghouses, garbage bins, you name it. One suspect literally attempted to hide inside a stuffed animal display, which, gotta give you credit for creativity. Another squeezed into a ventilation duct and had to be rescued, probably by the same firefighter who rescued the man and his dog. Think about that. The police weren't arresting him. The fire department was extracting him. When your escape requires emergency services, the chase is over. You've already lost. Now, what fascinates me about these stories is that they all begin with the same assumption. Nobody will think to look here. Oh, they'll look there. Because you're not the first person who's had that idea. Police officers have spent decades dealing with criminals. You know what they've learned? People panic. And panicked people make ridiculous decisions. They just do. The suspect isn't thinking strategically. They're thinking emotionally. And emotion is where logic goes to die. You see, the FAFO lesson here, the problem isn't getting caught. The problem is getting caught in a way that becomes a training video because nobody remembers the criminal. Everybody remembers the guy they had to cut out of the dryer. I mean, if your escape plan involves a household appliance, you're not escaping. You're just waiting to be discovered in high definition. And the FAFO level here, permanent embarrassment. Yeah. And it just doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there, folks. You got the cat thief delivery driver. Did you hear of this one? Did you hear of this one? I love this one. I thought this was great. Let's begin with this story that made millions of people collectively ask, what is wrong with people? A delivery driver was caught on video allegedly stealing a cat from someone's front porch. Not a package, not electronics, not jewelry, a cat. He had to have the cat. Now think about how bizarre of a decision tree that must have been. The driver pulls up, sees the cat, looks around, and somehow decides, yep, that's coming with me. Now, here's the part that makes this story even more ridiculous. Doorbell cameras exist, like everywhere. At this point, there are more cameras watching front porches than there are people watching cable news. And yet somehow, individuals continue behaving as if they're living in 1987. The footage spread online. The internet did what the internet does. And suddenly millions of people knew exactly who the alleged cat thief was. Imagine throwing away your job because you looked at somebody's pet and thought, I bet nobody will notice. Buddy, people have found murder suspects with less enthusiasm than pet owners looking for a missing cat. I mean, people may ignore a stolen package. They will launch a nationwide manhunt for Mr. Whiskers. It's crazy. But let's move on to what may be one of the funniest robbery attempts in recent memory. A would-be robber entered a nail salon expecting what? And what do robbers normally hope when they go in there, right? Fear, panic, need some compliance. What he got instead was complete indifference. Yeah. According to reports and surveillance footage, customers barely reacted. Employees kept working. People continued getting manicures. Some appeared more annoyed than frightened. Imagine preparing for a robbery. You're working up the courage, hyping yourself up. All right. Here we go. You're walking in, you start making your demands, and the response is essentially, Can you hurry this up? I'm getting my nails done. I mean, the criminal entered this situation believing he was the main character. The customers collectively decided he was just background noise. I've seen people receive less attention while asking for directions. And at some point, you have to question your career choices. Because if you attempt armed robbery and nobody even pauses their pedicure, you may not be intimidating. You may just be an inconvenience. And nothing destroys criminal confidence faster than realizing nobody takes you seriously. And that brings me to the cell tower genius. This one. I mean, come on. Come on. All right. Imagine this. And this one is just, this boggles the mind. A man climbs the cell tower. This is already not a fantastic decision. This is dumb. Then, on top of that genius move, he decides to live stream the experience. Now, let's pause there for a second. For generations, criminals worried about what? Witnesses. And this man became his own witness. He's literally broadcasting his location, his identity, his activities, and his eventual arrest live to the internet. I mean, can you imagine the police dispatcher? Sir, we've located the suspect. How? Well, he's narrating the entire incident. This is the equivalent of a bank robber posting hourly progress updates. At one point, criminals used burner phones. Now they're creating content. The suspect didn't evade authorities. He built an audience. And the audience got front row seats to the arrest. If you're live streaming your crime, you're not a fugitive. You're a documentary. And that's not where the stupidity ends. Like, it keeps going. It keeps going. Like, y'all seen these underground fight clubs? And I don't even know if you call them underground anymore. This whole genius brigade. Look, every year, police uncover illegal fight clubs. And they used to have to find them. They used to have to dig for them, right? The problem is that every year, when they break these illegal fight clubs up, the participants seem genuinely shocked. Shocked. As if dozens of people gathering in a warehouse to beat each other senseless while recording it for social media somehow wouldn't attract attention. You know what makes a terrible secret? 300 people posting videos of it. Modern criminals have one fatal weakness. They desperately want recognition. Truly, they're all attention starved. The old criminal just wanted anonymity. The new criminal wants subscribers. And unfortunately, those two goals tend to conflict with each other. Have you ever heard of the bulldozer story? You see that? It was a wild one. You need to look it up. Every few years, somebody decides that a multi-ton piece of construction equipment is the ideal vehicle for expressing frustration. You know, that guy shows up all the time to work every day for years, gets overlooked for promotions, nothing's going right, maybe his marriage is falling apart, life's taking its toll, maybe he's angry, maybe he's just drunk, maybe they've completely lost their minds. But the logic always seems to be, you know what would improve the situation? Heavy machinery. Spoiler alert. Heavy machinery rarely improves criminal situations. It does, however, create absolutely incredible police reports and footage. Imagine explaining that arrest, right? What was the suspect driving? A bulldozer. A what? A bulldozer. Through town? Through town, like literally through town, through buildings. At some point, you've moved beyond criminal behavior and entered cartoon villain territory. And that would be true. Look up the tank incident. Oh my goodness. I'm going to tell you. You think these are just made up? These situations exist. They have happened, folks. YouTube has them. Look them up. You know what's fascinating about all these stories isn't the crime itself. It's the mindset. Every single one of these people believed they were the exception. They were the one person who wouldn't get caught. The one person whose plan would work. The one person who had thought of something nobody else had. Yet history often suggests otherwise, because the universe has a remarkable sense of humor. And it seems to reserve some of its best punchlines for people making terrible decisions. I mean, the difference between a criminal mastermind and a viral news story is usually about 5 minutes. Remember, and this is important, if your crime involves stealing cats, robbing people who don't care, live streaming your own arrest, joining a fight club with 200 witnesses, or operating heavy machinery out of spite, you're not executing a plan. You're auditioning for the FAFO Hall of Shame. Now, before anybody thinks stupidity is limited to criminals, let's talk about a group of people who occasionally prove that money, fame, and millions of followers do not automatically produce good decision making. And before we get into that, let me get to the comment section. Mike says, sorry, before we need to get rid of our Ring camera, probably written by a criminal. Probably was. I saw that the owners escaped a war-torn country. This punk was a joke to them. There you go. Exactly. We're talking about the one where the criminal came in to rob them, right? Nah, whatever, dude. You're the least scary thing we've seen. Continue filing those nails down. And they're right, the San Diego tank driver was the one. Look that up. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. It is interesting. Wild and interesting. And some of you might feel like, at least through the first half of it, you're on the side of the tank driver. I'm just saying, take a look at it. Take a look and let me know what you think about that one, because it is wild. It's a wild story. But back to this. Back to it. We're talking about celebrities, influencers, internet personalities, the people who spend their lives in front of a camera and every now and then forget somehow those cameras are still rolling. If you're a famous person, those cameras are always rolling. Always. Because everybody carries one with them now. And what's fascinating about celebrity FAFO moments is that they usually aren't criminal. I mean, let's be honest. Most of them aren't criminal. They're just spectacularly embarrassing. And because they're public figures, the internet responds with the subtlety of a nuclear strike. One bad decision, one awkward moment, one poorly thought out post, and suddenly millions of people are laughing at you before lunch. The internet has become the greatest humiliation machine ever invented. And celebrities keep feeding it. And then they have to put out the world's worst apologies, explaining they didn't know what they were doing, didn't know what they were saying. All right? They didn't think through the consequences. They had poor judgment. And every year we get one. Some celebrity attempts an elaborate entrance, a dramatic walk. This is after, like take these award shows, right? This is where you see all of that at. Like they've got these perfectly choreographed stage moments, and then gravity decides otherwise. These high heels lose a fight with the stairs. A dress catches on something. Somebody misses their mark. Somebody says something stupid, giving a speech. And the next thing you know, the clip has been viewed 40 million times. And the funniest part is that the actual award show becomes irrelevant. Nobody remembers who won, and nobody cares. They remember the fall. They remember the idiotic statements. Imagine training your entire life to become famous and then being immortalized because a staircase beat you in a single comment. Yeah, a staircase beating you in single combat. You can't walk a flight of stairs. Imagine all the effort you put in having one of these stellar performances, acting your ass off, winning this award, and saying some of the dumbest stuff because you thought that you reading somebody else's lines all of a sudden made you a genius. And the whole world realizes in that moment you're just a walking idiot. That's tough. I mean, that's tough. Right? And and here's the thing. Like, social media is a cell phone. It is. And the social media may be the greatest source of modern celebrity FAFO. Because before social media, publicists existed. Right? Publicists were essentially professional damage control. Their entire job was preventing celebrities from saying stupid things publicly. That was their job. Then social media happened. And suddenly, celebrities had direct access to millions of people. What could possibly go wrong? Well, it turns out, everything. We've seen celebrities. They post screenshots they shouldn't have posted. They accidentally expose private information, start arguing they can't win, respond emotionally at 2 a.m., probably after a drunken binge, not out partying. And when they should have apologized, they just doubled down instead. And when they should stop talking completely, they triple down. They bomb their own movies. They alienate their audiences. Look, the internet never forgets. And screenshots, well, they live forever. Every celebrity eventually learns the same lesson. The send button is often more dangerous than the comment section. You know, here's the thing. And I'll get to this. I want to jump to the comment section real quick. They remember the slap. Yeah. People remember the slap and how ridiculously stupid the slap was. We talking about Will Smith, Chris Rock, the slap at the award show. How dumb that was. How pathetic it made Will Smith look. How it kind of wrecked Will Smith's entire world, to be honest with you. Mike says, my coworker was told by the police there's an armed suspect in the back area. The dope runs out to see for himself and got shot. He FAFO'd. There you go. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Look, there's an armed suspect in the back area. Don't go back there. Go see. What does that look like? Bam. That's what that looks like. That's what that looks like. Hole in the head. Amazing to me. You know, one of my favorite celebrity traditions, and I love this, is watching someone voluntarily walk into a controversy that had absolutely nothing to do with them. Like, nobody tagged them. Nobody asked. Nobody invited them into the conversation. Yet somehow they arrived like a superhero responding to a crisis nobody knew existed. And the result is usually spectacular. Within hours, they're trending. Within days, they're apologizing. Some written statement wrote for them that they don't really mean or understand. And within weeks, they're claiming they were misunderstood. And the internet responds with its favorite phrase. What is it? Sure. It's amazing how many public relation disasters begin with somebody simply refusing to remain quiet because they think for some reason They are especially gifted with a certain knowledge that nobody else has. Just because you have a microphone doesn't mean every thought deserves a world tour. And let's talk about the influencer problem, because we're not immune. So let's talk about it. The modern era has created a fascinating phenomenon, without question. This is people willing to risk their dignity, relationships, careers, physical safety. For what? Content. Not money, not survival. Content. And we've seen some of these influencers do the craziest things for content. They have fallen into fountains, damaged property, harassed strangers, trespassed in restricted areas, climbed dangerous structures, performed ridiculous stunts, all because they believed the views would be worth it. They have this phrase, right? Do it for the content. This has become the modern version of hold my beer. And it usually ends the same way. Poorly. We've seen these happen. Right now, there's a young man in Korea, South Korea, about to serve 10 years for acting a fool because he did it for the content. Attention starved. Thought because he's an influencer, he was immune. No, he's not. Johnny Somali. Look him up. Doing prison time in South Korea. You know, one of the greatest modern FAFO moments happens when somebody forgets that cameras exist everywhere. And we've talked about that all throughout today's show. Security cameras, doorbell cameras, cell phone cameras, traffic cameras, store cameras, body cameras. Do you realize the average city has more cameras than a reality TV production? And if you know anything about that, there are cameras everywhere on a reality TV show because they have to capture everything. Yet every year, people continue behaving as if nobody is watching. Then the footage appears, right? The internet investigates, and suddenly somebody's worst decision is available in 4K resolution. And again, this is what boggles the mind. Imagine throwing away your career because you forgot literally every building has cameras. That's not bad luck. That's a failure to understand the century you're living in. And if your entire plans depends on nobody recording it, you should probably update the plan. What's fascinating about criminals and influencers and celebrities and internet clowns is that they often share the same weakness. Main character syndrome. You heard that right. Main character syndrome. The belief that normal consequences apply to everyone else. Not them. They're smarter. They're faster, more clever. Certainly they're more important. I mean, they won't get caught. People won't notice, right? Surely this stunt will work. I mean, this post will be different. Then reality enters the chat. And reality remains undefeated. As much as people try to twist it and skew it and make it into something it's not, reality always comes out on top. Every viral arrest, every celebrity meltdown, every influencer disaster, every public humiliation, they all start with the same thought. This is going to make me look awesome. And what does it end with? Please stop sharing that video. I didn't mean to. I wasn't feeling well that night. I had too much Robitussin. Stop. Just stop. Why do they keep doing this? Why? Because common sense is often no match for ego. Ego. That attention is addictive. And think about this. Social media rewards risk. When people talk about going viral, a lot of those viral videos were risks that were taken. And they were rewarded with these huge followings, sometimes deals. And because of main character syndrome remains one of the strongest forces in the known universe, that's why they keep doing it. So what's the lesson of the day? What is the lesson of the day? Google, ChatGPT, hiding in a dryer, stealing a cat, live streaming your own arrest, climbing a cell tower, or explaining yourself to millions of strangers online. Stop. If that's what your plan requires, stop. Just stop. Take a walk. Call a friend. Reevaluate your life choices, because the path you're on leads directly to the FAFO Hall of Fame. And I want you to remember this. The difference between a genius and a viral news story is usually one terrible decision. And in 2026, the internet is keeping score. We're only halfway through this year, and people are already FAFOing, baby. So I want to leave you with this, and I want you to think about this. Here's the thing. These people thought this was a good idea. All of this. So which one was your favorite idiot? Drop it in the comments. We read every single one. Subscribe for more unfiltered FAFO moments. Like, share, and stay smart out there. Stay smart out there. You want to follow us? It's easy to do. We're on Spotify, the FAFO Podcast. And we're at Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music, the FAFO Podcast. Kick Live, the FAFO Podcast. You see the pattern. Facebook, the FAFO Podcast. YouTube, the FAFO Podcast. Rumble, the FAFO Podcast. And if you want to support us, which we certainly want you to do, then join us at the FAFO Podcast.online. Look, our lowest membership site is $2 a month. $2. That's nothing. Help us grow. Help us grow. Help us get to where we want to go. We can get there. And I believe we can do it together. People fall to their deaths because walking on high-rise buildings was a trend. There you go. Exactly. It's wild. It's wild to me. The stupid things people do, but they do them every day. Guys, you got to be safe out there. You got to be safe out there. Because we FAFO. I FAFO. And you got to learn from it. You got to learn where the hackers are, even when they show up in your own chat. Yeah. Yeah. Guys, you are listening to the Fuck Around and Find Out podcast. Facts, truth, no BS. Let's effing go.
Four on the floor, have a tank of gas. Dusty boots on the wood, let the whiskey pass. I ain't preaching from a pulpit, I'm talking from the scar. You can dress up a lie, but it won't get far. They call it toxic when it burns your tongue. I call it true when it's finally sung. Got a dog-eared Bible of the things they hide, and a match for the curtains, let the daylight inside. You want comfort? Son, you missed your turn. This road's called real and the edges burn. Honesty don't